So Jan Jensen is the Iowa coach. And yesterday, was it today? Recently enough, anyway, she spoke about Caitlin Clark. And she spoke kind of about, obviously, Caitlin Clark's initial, time in the WNBA and some things like that. But let's take a listen to what she said. This was actually today. This is only a few hours ago. Basically asking about the gatekeeping and territorialism that transpired with the WNBA upon Caitlin's arrival. Let's take a listen to what she said.
There's, especially last year when Caitlin went to the next level, there was a lot of, the word gatekeeping came up a lot. People in that league, whether it was talking about media, players, whoever, saying, oh, you weren't here before, you can't talk about us now. You can't.
I always find that so funny where it's like, everybody started watching sports at some stage. And I mean that, where it's like, especially when it came to the WNBA, people are like, oh, this isn't how the WNBA works. Like, you've just came from the NBA. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, if you have spent so much time watching basketball, you know that running 3 non-shooters at the same time is not gonna work. WNBA teams, some of the, and it's the reason why there was so much of an overturn in coaches. Because at the college level and the women's college level, they were playing better basketball. There was better basketball, there's more modern basketball. At the WNBA level, we saw an awful lot of 1980s ball. Let's run our double bigs and think we're going to win with double bigs. Stuff like that. Double bigs that can't shoot, by the way. 3-point shooting was optional in the WNBA before last season.
Can't cover us now. But it was never like that when Caitlin was doing her thing here. It was always, hey, a rising tide lifts all boats. We want you here. We don't care if you weren't covering us before. We want you here now. When you see things like that start to fill the air, just what are your thoughts?
I think it's disappointing. I think really the evolution, right, is that's the process. And if you love what you do, whatever part of that process that you are, I believe that you want to enjoy it and you want to keep moving the needle, right, if you're in a public sport. I never quite understood that because it always takes something unique and special to kind of make folks double take, right?
And that's one thing is it's very clear why they did it. The media, and by the way, the good media were not out there gatekeeping. And I mean that. It was the bad media. By the bad media, I mean the people that realistically did not know enough about the sport of basketball to get put in the positions they were in. They did not know enough about the sport, so they made everything about, they got put into high positions in sport without talking about the sport because the WNBA was seen as an activist league and not a sports league. So they were able to get into these positions because they didn't know anything about sport, but they knew a lot about online activism. So that's how they got put in these positions. But as the sport grows, their basketball takes get called out, and the dumb shit they say about the sport gets called out. And when it comes to WNBA players, a lot of the ones that were really jealous were the ones who were on top. Because if you are the face of a league, and suddenly you've been replaced as the face of a league by a rookie, you're going to want to still be the face of the league. And there were people in the league, especially higher up players, that were willing to burn down the league as long as they remained on top of the burnt down league. And then when it comes to a lot of the fans, they were happy because there was this situation where the league was so small that the players and the fans used to interact on Twitter and all this stuff. It was like a little club. And then it became a sports league. It became a sports league where people were giving sports takes. People were calling out people for dumb sports takes. People were giving dumb sports takes. People were seeing bad, and you got the Nekawumake, watch, be curious, but never criticize. No, I'm going to criticize Christy Sides when she said that Caitlin Clark needs to get rid of the ball within 0.5 seconds and start taking long twos. I'm going to criticize dumb shit. I'll criticize Jan Jensen with some of her coaching decisions. I think she's a hell of a coach. Not everyone of them is smart. And then the worst part about this is there were so many people coming into the WNBA that had experience in sports media, experience with the sport, and they were getting called out. You were hearing people saying you haven't watched this league before. So it was one, I've watched tons of WNBA in my lifetime. And it's You don't watch WNBA. It's like, I watch literally Irish women's basketball. I coach like pro basketball. There are pros in the team that I coach, which is at a lower level, probably a lower level than the W. Like, if our guys went down against the WNBA team, they killed them, but like not skill level wise, WNBA are 100 times better than the guys that I coach skill wise, outside of like some of the high level pros that came from D1 the States maybe, but that's a maybe. But like, basketball's basketball, and that's what these people don't understand. It's like, there were these old fans. It's like, new fans can't come in and talk basketball. It's like, you don't even know basketball in the first place. You're watching people believe that going dribble, sidestep, foot on the line, long two was a good shot. Like, you've got people, like, it's madness. It's madness. I tell you, madness.
You know, why is something popular in pop culture? Well, the right people kind of like it, and then everybody starts to like it, and that's just how it works, right? So,
and I also do have to say, another reason they were really pissed off is that the first people that got on board the Caitlin Clark hype train, while everyone was pushing UConn, was pushing Paige, was pushing South Carolina, it was the Barstool Bros. It was the Dave Portnoy. And I'm not specifically talking about Barstool Sports. It was those type of people that really started pushing Caitlin Clark.
So then when you have like a generational talent, like a Caitlin, and she's doing everything, that she possibly can, and doing it with such flair, when that was met with, hold on, wait, no, you can't, or where were you then? I just think it should have been so much gratitude. Hey, I'm glad you're here now. And I think it cast a light on what had happened before. So there were chances. One good example, Lynette Woodard, right? She got a really nice moment in the sun where maybe a lot of people really didn't understand what she had done. And I just think that's part of the evolution.
And yeah, and that's just a fact. That is just a fact. And I made a video about this. I can't remember who it was. I don't know exactly what her name is. It's the Twitter, I'm pretty sure it's a Twitter account. I know it because she's named after one of my favorite, she named her Twitter account after one of my favorite, most underrated players ever. I'm pretty sure it was the person who's Mehmet Okurt on the No Cap Space podcast, where she basically said they only ever bring up legends to bring down Caitlin Clark. It's like, it's always like, what about this person? It's like when Caitlin Clark does something, it's like, oh, but what about X, Y, and Z person? But it's never like, let's just say, as Caitlin Clark is like about to break the rookie assist record, it was the Ken Swift Twitter account that had to post the Teacher Penichero hype video. Not the WNBA, not the WNBA media who want everyone to go, not the WNBA fans that want everyone to go, the old ones. It was a new fan who who learned about Teacher Penichero and posted a mixtape that went semi-viral and got Teacher Penichero herself to respond positively to it. So that's the thing, where it's like, when she was coming close to the rookie points record, like, when she was overtaking people, that should have been a big deal. Like, it should have been a big deal. Like, Angel Reese broke the double-double record. I think Candace Parker had it. I think it was Candace Parker. I have no idea. I've actually got no idea. Like, they didn't make it that big of a deal. Like, with Caitlin Clark coming to scoring record, I think total points might have been Enrique. But, like, when she beat Simone Augustus out, that should have been a big deal. Then when she beat out Enrique's rookie year should have been showcased in the WNBA. The WNBA did a horrible job. Iowa did a really good job. College sports did a really good job. Like when she beat Lynette Woodward, when she beat Pistol Pete Maravich, it was this whole big thing. It was such a big deal. And Pistol Pete became the most looked up college basketball reference page in like 10 states in America in the year 2024. Because so many people were looking up Pistol Pete Maravich, his stats, to see, how impressive they were. And it's like, you can tell the history of the game through these players. And that's one of the things that I really like that Jan Jensen brought up, is that you're able to use these players to not only talk about the future, the present of the game, but also tell the history of the game through these players. Like when you've seen Angel Reese break the rebound record, who she broke it from, and who she was like from third to second to first. That type of thing. You can make it stories. With Caitlin Clark and the assist record. Like, people don't realise, like, the assist in a season. What did she break that? She broke that from Melissa Thomas. But they didn't make it that big a deal. They didn't make some of the Sloot records that big a deal when she was overtaking Sloot. Like, they could have done that. They could have used Caitlin Clark to promote the league. But instead, the WNBA media, the WNBA itself, and the old WNBA fans, instead of actually using Caitlin Clark to promote the league, they said, we want you to leave. We liked it as it was. Not, we want Caitlin to come in, and we know that this is going to help grow our league, and we're going to do this and that in order to get the league in as good a spot as possible for players in the future. It is, no, we want this gone. We like the way it was previously. And you're seeing a similar sentiment with Unrivaled. Like, with Unrivaled, people don't realize that the way Unrivaled is going right now, it is not going to last more than 3 years. The ratings aren't good enough. The players are giving iffy effort. The Breanna situation is only going to get worse when players realize, oh, wow, if we actually have other commitments, we can just get out of them. That situation is going to make things worse. The players don't really care. And the old fans, the ones that care so much about growing the game and all this crap and all this stuff, and the reason I say all this crap is because they're full of crap. Not that it's growing the game is not a good thing. Is that they're like, oh, but like, look at Unrivaled. The players are happy. This isn't Unrivaled's not about being competitive. It's all just about getting off-season workouts and improving as players. Like, oh, look, the players have all these facilities. It's great for them. I'm like, it's going to last 3 years unless people watch it. It is a spectator sport. Unrivaled is a spectator sport. The investors are there to make money. No one's throwing money away. The investors, the TV deal. If TNT are able to negotiate after 1 year, they're screwed. They're actually screwed. And people don't realize, they're like, if you complain about Sabrina Ionescu just dipping, and not on her, if you complain about the league for allowing that, if you complain about certain things in the league, it's like, oh, you just don't want them to succeed. I'm like, no, you don't. You're like, oh yeah, you know what, these players, or calling it Ryan Howard for saying the league's rigged. It's like, oh, she's just joking. I'm like, no. If you are a player and you call a league rigged, you should be fired on the spot. They're not going to. You should be warned that you'll be fired on the spot. They should be all warned. Next person to say the league's rigged is fired on the spot. Because nothing is worse than calling a league rigged. Let's be real. Nothing paints a league in a worse light than people calling it rigged. But yet, these fans are like, if you call someone out for that, it's like, oh, you hate these players. I'm like, no, you hate these players. Because, let's be real, the best case scenario for Unrivaled is that Unrivaled lasts till the end of time and players make a bunch of money in Unrivaled and a bunch of money in the WNBA. But by allowing this crap happen, you're guaranteeing Unrivaled doesn't succeed, which means that it's only this current crop of a couple of players that are going to benefit for a couple of years in Unrivaled, and all the players in the future in women's basketball doesn't actually grow. These few players just made a little bit of money over a couple of years. And that is what people are being like, oh yeah, that's what Unrivaled is about. No. Like, people don't see big picture. These people don't see big picture. And that's the worst part I will say this about the old crew is they actually don't care about growing the game. Not one of them cares about growing the game. And it's not about through Caitlin, because the WNBA could have used Caitlin in a real positive light. And you can see it in the players that weren't known for the Caitlin hating. Like, you've seen it with Enrique in the All-Star break, how much more she's known now. You've seen it with also with not just Enrique after the All-Star break. You've seen it with the likes of, obviously, again, Angel Reese, even for infamy, is still big. Nafisa Collier, how popular she's been, how much more she's known, and because she's an absolute hooper as well. So yeah, it's like, it's one of those things where I just think the WNBA failed so miserably at it, and they're continuing to double down on the miserable fail instead of like just going out there and trying to just going out there and trying to grow you know what they say they want to do is grow the game. And they all want to ungrow the game. They all want to ungrow the game. And they'll use a couple of negative things to ungrow the game, to say to ungrow the game, but like, there's 100 times more positive things than negative things that happened in the last WNBA season. But anyway, I'll see you guys.